Nick, if you listened to Gruden's entire press conference, he had a couple of contradictory statements. What did you make of what he just said there?
Well, I think the most notable phrase is, you look at what he got, and we were nowhere close. Well, that means the deal was never getting done.
No.
It wasn't because Aaron Donald set a new standard. It wasn't because Khalil Mack just held the line at a couple $1 million difference. Listen, the Bears paid a premium, and Oakland got the most they possibly could have gotten for the player. They got 2 first-round picks. I know they gave up a second, but they have a third coming back. So they got 2 first-round picks for Khalil Mack. That is the most you can ever get for a player being traded in the NFL. And it was still a bad deal for them. And it was still a deal that I think risks losing not only some of the fan base as far as their support. If you're a fan in Oakland, all right, you're leaving me in 2 years anyway. We're not going to be any good this year. You just gave away our best player. Like, what am I actually here for? But also potentially losing your locker room. Coach says all the time, see you it. As a general manager or a head coach, and in this case, Gruden's essentially both, you tell your players a story by who you pay, but you also tell them a story by who you choose not to pay or who you deal out of town. And so if they were never close to the $90 million guaranteed, they were never close to signing him, they were never intent on re-signing their best player, and now the Raiders enter what is a weakened AFC that theoretically you thought they could compete in this season with no shot of competing whatsoever.
The Raiders are going to be under tremendous scrutiny. It's hard to get players like Khalil Mack, and it's hard to impossible to get great players who have the overall athletic character that Khalil has, off the field character that he has, and also the leadership. Like, you're not going to be able to find a player. Like, so if they want someone to rush the passer, they're going to draft them. They're going to draft them one of those draft picks, right? And they're hoping one day
they'll turn into Khalil Mack.
But from a business model, I would just respect it more if they'd just been like, it doesn't fit what we're trying to do. He is a great player. Did he deserve a great contract? Yes. But given what we see in the future, even though I don't see that on their roster,
right,
given what I see in the future, I didn't think right now committing that kind of dollars, because also the way the collective bargain is where you have to put that money in escrow, I didn't think the Raiders were ever going to do that. If you look at the amount of percentage that you have to finance in that, and we know, we've talked about their finances are the weakest in the NFL.
People should know what C's talking about. Whatever the guaranteed dollars are, you got to put that basically in a vault somewhere. So when $90 million is guaranteed to Khalil Mack, he gets a check, I think, for like $40 million in the next few weeks from Chicago. But the rest of that 90, they have to set aside. Now, that seems silly for most teams. Like, hey, guess what? We got it. But some teams, one team, might not actually have it.
That's the Raiders.
To which I would say, if that's the case, C, then privately behind closed doors, there needs to be a discussion about whether or not the Davis family should own this football team. If they are making player decisions based on we can't set the money aside, that is not professional football in America standards.
Right. That meeting's not going to take place. It's impossible. If you look at how Al Davis got managing control of it was very kind of shady and everything, yeah, how he got it. But they can hide behind the model of we just can't commit that many resources to a defense that has a lot of holes. And if someone wanted to, let's say the Raiders' argument, they had Khalil Mack and their defense was still bad. If they commit all those dollars to him, how are they going to improve when they're already paying their young quarterback $20 million? They got Amari Cooper. Is it going to be expecting a deal $18 million, $16 million in that range next year? So it becomes complicated.
We can't move on until we talk about what Khalil Mack does for this Chicago Bears defense, which is there's already a solid defense, and then you add him. How does that unit look?
Listen, this is a big bet on Mitch Trubisky. What the Bears are clearly saying is if Trubisky's no good, none of this matters anyway. So let's add a superstar player while our quarterback's cheap. This is a theme. We saw the Eagles win a Super Bowl this way. We saw the Rams contend this way. Cheap quarterback, add superstars. If you'd asked me 96 hours ago, the Bears defense, which was fringe top 10 last year, what's the single biggest need they have? I'd said a big-time pass rushing outside backer. And they are D-end outside backer. And they added the single best in the league at this. I think we talked about this over the weekend. This almost now has a feel of like Western Conference, Eastern Conference.
In basketball.
In basketball.
As far as the good players from the West coming to the East in the NFL. That's the way it is. And I'm going to tell you who was not happy with this deal. Chicago was ecstatic. Matthew Stafford in Detroit, not very happy. Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, and Cuz there in Minnesota. If you're going to spend $28, $30 million on your quarterback, go out and get you someone like Khalil Mack if you don't have that type of firepower from the quarterback. So this division got so much tougher. F the Bears, hypothetically. F the Bears are the worst team in this division? Oh, my goodness.
See, just for people that don't know if Matt can play week 1, what did Bill Parcells say about his position as far as being
man, you
ready
have to know this distinction from the beginning. Does a guy know the difference between sit and sick 'em? All right? Because this offseason, what was he doing? Sitting. Oh, he'll know how to sick him. He'll get on the outside, and yeah, you can do that. You can do that from your couch. A lot different than being a running back, than being a rush defensive end.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.